Welcome to the Insight Lab. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Leila. Here we dive into meaningful conversations about growth, mindset, and intentional living.
Together, we explore ideas that spark change and uncover practical insights to help you thrive.
So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's start this journey of discovery together. Hey there, welcome to today's podcast where we're diving into the deep and often unpredictable world of adult emotions. Have you ever had one of those moments where everything feels like it's going just fine, and then bam! You're overwhelmed with emotion?
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're riding this emotional roller coaster and you can't get off. One minute you're chatting with a friend, they say something slightly off, and suddenly you're crying uncontrollably. Have you experienced that too?
Yeah, and it's fascinating how these emotions can catch us off guard. It's like we don't even know where they come from sometimes. Did you know there's actually a deeper layer to these emotions that's often masked by surface feelings?
Right? It's often not about the immediate situation, but something more ingrained, like going way back to childhood, our upbringing, how our parents interacted with us. All those things shape how we react today. It's kind of like peeling an onion layer by layer.
Exactly. Let's talk about a case that I found particularly interesting. There was this individual, let's call her A, who had severe public speaking anxiety. Turns out it wasn't just about speaking in front of people.
Oh yeah, I've read about that. Her anxiety was actually linked to feelings of shame cultivated during childhood. Her parents constantly used phrases that made her feel embarrassed about herself. It's crazy how those experiences linger into adulthood.
And it's not just anxiety. Other emotions like anger or sadness can also trace back to core emotional experiences from the past. I mean, it's all interconnected in this really complex way.
It's like when people say, treat the cause, not the symptom in healthcare. Identifying this core emotion is just as crucial in emotional management. If you don't know the real issue, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
That's such a good point. And speaking of managing emotions, there are actually quite effective strategies out there. One is mindfulness, or meditation. It's been shown to calm the amygdala in the brain, which is kind of like the control center for our emotional responses.
Yeah, practicing mindfulness really helps bring attention to the present moment instead of being lost in past anxieties or future worries. The key is consistency, though. It's not a one-time fix.
Consistency is right. And then there's this idea of mentalization, essentially viewing yourself from an outsider's perspective. It's like stepping out of your own body and observing your reactions to understand them better.
Mentalization. Yes, it's about empathy, both emotional and cognitive. You recognize your feelings, but also try to understand the thought process behind them.
And then there's personality variations. Have you ever noticed how some people bounce back quicker from emotional setbacks while others seem to struggle much longer?
Definitely. And that's tied to the concept of secure versus insecure attachment styles. Secure types handle stress more easily because they're fundamentally okay with expressing their needs. The insecure types might internalize things more, making recovery tougher.
Fascinating how our foundational personality can influence how we handle emotional trauma. It's like building a house. You need good, solid bricks.
Exactly. And bolstering that internal security can aid emotional resilience. It's a lifelong journey, but understanding these aspects is the first key step.
And for our listeners, if you're struggling with emotional unpredictability, consider little changes. Remove yourselves from overly stressful environments when you can, and take the time to explore these core feelings.
Yes, and remember, these emotional reflections are not a sprint. It's like training a muscle. It takes time, but the strength you gain is invaluable.
Beautifully put. Well, folks, we hope you gleaned some insight and perhaps a new perspective on dealing with emotional highs and lows today.
Yes, take care of your inner worlds, everyone. Until next time, stay curious and compassionate.